What is up, guys? It is Heavy Dark, and today we're going to be doing a review on a little game called Vexx. Now, this game for me, unfortunately, had some technical issues. I don't know what's wrong with it, but when I was playing it, it would load painfully slow. The loading wheel would get stuck. I had audio issues where it would just emit this high-pitched, like, scream, is the best way that I can describe it. And it would just go for about 10 to 15 seconds and then cut out completely and work perfectly fine. I had to reset it because it got froze. And so when it was froze, I was like, okay, well, now what am I going to do? Hit the reset button, go back to the home screen. The home screen was red. Okay, I have some video of it, but it was red, and it was saying that it like wasn't a regular game or something. It said like put in a PS2 game or something like that. I don't know. It freaked me out. I thought the thing was broken. So what I had to do was I popped this in the PS3, which is backwards compatible, and it ran just fine. I also, to test my system, ran other games for the PS2 in here, and they ran fine. So I think it's just this copy. I tried looking up stuff online. I tried a bunch of different forums. All the information's like 15, 20 years ago. None of it mentioned anything that was going on. I don't know if this is scratched in a way that I can't see because the disc looks fine, but I had issues. I'm going to try not to let that influence how I actually saw the game, but it definitely was a huge headache that I had to deal with. But all that aside, that being said, let's get to the review, the first impressions of Vexx. I did not complete the game yet. This is just the first couple levels, and it's kind of going to be gauging of whether I am interested in completing the game. First impressions, first look, let's get started. So let's talk about the intro scene. The intro scene, I thought it was pretty well made. I think that the dark tone that they're trying to convey is very obvious. It's very well presented to you. Obviously, this was going for a more mature audience compared to Jack and Daxter and Ratchet and Clank. I think that they were trying to go for a darker tone. They were trying to go for something that was, I don't know, more edgy, I guess. And so you really feel that in the first opening scenes. Vexx is, I guess, his people were messing around with magic or something, and it exploded their planet. And from what I can, it's very brief. It's very brief, the cutscene and the explanation for this. It exploded their planet, and you have all of these smaller islands floating through space that all have different people on them, right? So Vex's planet gets invaded by an alien race. I don't remember what they're called, but they burn his village down. They enslave his people. They force him to work in the mines, and so so already you got forced manual labor. Your family members are being tortured to work all day, and it's so there's your dark tone right there. Then right after that, Vexx gets kind of he gets fed up with it, right? He gets pissed off, and he goes and attacks one of the guards. Well, the mage or the wizard that is leading the enemy, he starts casting a spell that is hurting Vexx, torturing him, whatever. And so Vexx is helpless there, and then his grandfather comes over and attacks the wizard. So the wizard changes his spell over to the grandfather and kills him by sending him to a death dimension, whatever. I kind of feel that like at the end of the game, you're going to end up saving him by pulling his soul back from wherever it was sent. And so I don't want to say that he died because he can be brought back, but whatever. Point is, your grandfather's gone, so it's just you. So what does Vexx do? He sneaks out of the camp, goes onto one of the ships, which looks like a regular sail ship that goes through space, like Treasure Planet, very cool. And he goes down into the hall underneath, and he finds this rock. And the rock has two magical gauntlets stabbed into it. And the mage, wizard, whatever, he doesn't want anyone to know about it or get their hands on it because, and it's like I said, the cutscene's very brief and it doesn't really go over everything in detail, but he said that he feared it because he couldn't destroy it. I'm assuming that the magic in the gauntlets is greater than his, and if they got into the wrong hands, somebody would be able to stand up to him. So he doesn't want anyone to know. Long story short, the gauntlets come to life. They choose Vexx as its wielder, grab onto his hands, and fuse themselves. It looks like it's painful. He passes out, blah, 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 right? So then he wakes up in this other dimension, and this is the tutorial. And the tutorial teaches you how to attack, how to long jump, how to climb walls, do different aerial attacks, different smashdown attacks. Teaches you about platforming. Teaches you about the collectibles in the game, which there are 3, if I remember correctly. There's the main collectible, right? The precursor orbs, the gold bolts, platinum bolts, whatever they were in Ratchet and Clank, which are the Wraith Hearts. So they are the main thing that gets you progress in the game. The Wraith Hearts are the main thing that has you unlock the next area. You get 2 of them, you go to the next area. You get 5 of them, you can unlock the next area. You get 12 of them, 10, 15, 20, whatever it is, all the way up. And I think I saw one at like 99 or 90, whatever. So the Wraith Hearts are the main thing that you are trying to get. The second collectible is, I think they're called soul jars. And basically, they are like the souls of some fallen heroes or whatever. I'd have to look it up to actually know what they were. But long story short, there's 6 of them in every single stage. If you get all 6, then you're rewarded with a Wraith Heart. So technically, you're not like collecting them, but you do have to find them all and gather them. And then you're presented with a Wraith Heart, which is the main thing that you're collecting anyway. And I guess that kind of goes the same with the last, which is the Wraith Shards. I think they just call them shards. But the Wraith Shards, if you collect 100 of them, then you're presented with a Wraith Heart. And this is the kind of thing that was one of the main things that was frustrating for me in the game, is progress is not saved between getting Wraith Hearts. And let me explain, okay? So you got your dude, and you're going on your way. You go into the main hub, and you go into the first level. So main hub, bunch of doors. Each door is locked until you get the required Wraith Hearts. So you go into the first level. Go into the first level, and you're like, oh, look, there's a soul jar over here. I'm going to go get it. Okay, 1 out of 6. Oh, look, there's a bunch of shards on the ground over here. I'm going to go collect these. Okay, there's a group of 10, a group of 20, a group of 30. Okay, I'm at 30. And, oh, look, there's a Wraith Heart up there on the building. Okay, so I'm going to go up there. Oh, I found another soul jar. I got 2 of them. Okay, and then I'm gonna go around the corner. Oh, there's another 10 shards. So then you get that. And then you go up to the top, and you get the Wraith Heart. There's an animation that has you getting the Wraith Heart. The animation continues to you going back to the hub, and you put the Wraith Heart in the Wraith Heart thing that, saves your progress and gets you your count up by 1. You go back into the level. No soul jars, no shards. That is super frustrating. And what that basically means is there is no point in collecting any shards or any soul jars whenever you're playing the game, if you're trying to get the Wraith Hearts, because if you do not get 100 shards to get the Wraith Heart, anything that you complete that grants you one of the hearts is going to send you back and erase all your progress. This is frustrating. You're collecting all these hearts, and you're just resetting your collection over and over and over again. So what I found was the best thing to do was to go get all the Wraith Hearts first and then collect the shards. But your natural brain instinct playing game mode is, I need to collect everything that's around me wherever I go, no matter what. So that was a little frustrating. The combat in this is actually pretty decent. Okay, I kind of have mixed feelings about this. You do get more attacks than Jak and Daxter. You don't get as much variety as Ratchet and Clank because you get all the weapons, and even Jak 2 has a bunch of weapons. Not very many. I think there was 4 or 5. But with this, you get a 3-punch combo, which is just, punch, punch, punch. I think there are certain variations that you can do. If you punch really quickly next to an enemy, you'll do like a 10 hit combo, right? If you punch and then wait a second and then hold it, then you can do a punch and then like a supercharged hold back and then let loose a big attack. You have a aerial slide forward uppercut to hit enemies in the air, which is kind of cool. You have a jump up in the air and then attack to do a backflip kick, which hits aerial enemies as well. Also, it has to do with juggling. We'll get into that. You have a jumping shoot down ability, so your character will jump up in the air. He'll use one of the gauntlets to shoot a ball of energy down at the ground, which does like a little AoE, so that's pretty cool. There might be more attacks you get later, but those are the main ones that you're going to be fighting with. So, a little bit of variety. It does get a little repetitive. It does get a little dull after a while. One of the cool things about it is the enemies, when they take damage, little numbers appear to show how much damage they've taken. It doesn't show a health bar, so you don't know how much they have left, but you can see how much they've taken. The cool thing that is unique or whatever to this game, I don't know if it is unique or not, but you can juggle enemies. So if you do a uppercut, you can launch them in the air. Then if you find their shadow, because most of the time they're off the screen, you can't see them, you find their shadow on the ground and you do another attack straight up, then you can hit them in the air and bounce them back up higher. And they go farther and farther away, so it gets harder and harder to juggle them, but every time you hit them, the number goes up. So maybe you do an uppercut, you do 5 damage. Then the next one you do 8. Then the next one you do 15. The next one you do 32. So it multiplies. The thing is that the areas that I was in, you didn't really need to do this because the enemies were already dead. So let's just say you hit an enemy in the air. Most of these enemies, if I were to guess, had about 5 health. So you hit them with a regular attack, that's already 4, right? 2 and 2. You hit them with the third attack, most of them is a 1, 2, 3, and they're dead. So if you uppercut them for 4, and then you juggle them for 8, and then you juggle them for 16, and you juggle them for 32, you're not accomplishing anything. The enemy doesn't die until it touches the ground, but it's kind of pointless. So I'm assuming that it's meant more for later in the game when enemies have more health, but I would assume that you deal more damage, so maybe it doesn't make sense. I don't know. It's a very weird mechanic. It's fun to mess around with every once in a while. It is very satisfying to take one of the little alien dudes and just smack him up in the air like 100 times. See how many times you can do it, how big the number you can get, but at the end of the day, it's accomplishing nothing because the enemy's already dead. So the one thing that I will give it a lot of credit for is the platforming. I think that the platforming is it feels nice, it feels responsive, it feels quick. Your character doesn't slide very much, so like when you jump to a platform, if you let go of the stick, your character's not going to keep moving, right? And there's not, at least from what I can remember, is there's not a lot of lag when it comes to like switching directions from this direction to that direction to where you have to wait for the character to like gain momentum. When I played Prince of Persia, that was one of the things that was absolutely super difficult to get a hold of. There's not lag between the jumping. The platforming was awesome. One of the really cool things, there's 2 things that I really absolutely loved about this. One of them was your leaping jump attack, or not an attack, so your leaping jump forward. So you use your gauntlets as little rocket engines and you hold them down and you shoot yourself up. This gets you a little bit of height, but it gets you a lot of distance. The best thing about it is that a lot of games don't do this. You can spam this over and over and over again, almost instantly. And what this does is the worlds are so big, and they're not huge, but they're big enough to where if you had to walk from the entrance, which every time you get a Wraith Heart, you have to go back to the beginning. If you have to go back to the beginning to get to the end point, is actually not that bad because you can just spam, jump, and you are there. You are there. It is awesome. And the same thing with platforming. A lot of the times in these games, you're going to get to a platform that you're having difficulty with, and the journey to get there is super obnoxious. And sometimes you make dumb mistakes, or you're rushing, or you're just like, oh yeah, I remember how to do this, and then you mess up, and you have to go all the way back. That's super annoying. The jumping thrusting forward move is super useful for just skipping through all the mundane walking. So that's really cool. The other thing that was really cool is the fall damage. Let's see, I think it's the energy ball shooting down attack, right? When you do that, it interrupts whatever you're doing and it just does that attack. I think it's the same for the backflip as well. So let's just say this is the ground, right? And you're jumping on this platform, you're jumping on this platform, jumping up here, blah 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 blah. Then you have this big old moving rock on there and you jump on it and you're just moving around, and so then you fall. Okay? On your way down, if you perform it, you have to time it, right? You can't do it too high and you can't miss it and do it too late. But if you perform the energy ball downward attack right before you hit the ground, it stops your momentum, which is, I mean, it's like a skillful way to just stop fall damage. If you're good at the game and you practice, then you can use your skills to avoid the damage. Most of the enemies, when they die, they give you energy back, they give you health back, so you don't really have to worry about dying from enemies very much. But I think that that's a really cool thing. I think that that's a really cool thing, that if you time it just right, if you get everything perfect, then you get better at the game, then you're rewarded by not taking damage from silly mistakes or things that are very frustrating. Yeah, one of the other things that was really frustrating about the Wraith Hearts was there are ones that you get from doing something. Like, let's just say there was one particular one where you had to go into arena with a sumo wrestler. He gives you, or dies, or whatever happens, and then a Wraith Heart appears. Okay? Now, the Wraith Heart appears right in the way of going to the next area. Then, when you are done and you respawn, you come back, there is a shadow of the Wraith Heart that you collected. Now, that's just an example of an event that happens and then a Wraith Heart appears. But there are some that are just static in the world and you can just see them. And so one of them in particular, I had to jump on a bunch of different platforms, a bunch of different rocks that were floating in the air. They're all doing like a weird pattern. You have to jump onto the side of one and crawl up. It was very cool. It was very fun. It was frustrating as all heck to get my character to actually latch onto the side of some of them. But at the very end, you're rewarded with a Wraith Heart. Well, there was another area that I wanted to get to that was past this, and my character jumped onto the platform, and then as the platform's moving, it was going to touch the Wraith Heart. When I touched it, it acted as if I just collected it, and it brought me back to the beginning of the game, which was super obnoxious because not only did I have to go all the way across the map, but I had to climb up the side of a wall, do platforming on 5 different islands, and then climb up the side of one, get to the top, wait for it to go all the way down its rotation just to get sent back to the beginning because I accidentally touched a Wraith Heart that I'd already collected. So that was, just a little quirk, super obnoxious. I don't know why you would even have that, right? So anyway, that was super frustrating, but, I think that the platforming was solid enough that I can forgive it. Another cool little thing is the day and night cycles. So I found a little dial on the ground, and if you go onto it, you can change it to match whatever time of day you want it to be. One of the cool things that I saw in there was that the nighttime has harder enemies. I think that maybe things unlock during the day, unlock during the night. Certain events happen during the day, happen at night, whatever. I didn't really delve too much into that. I pretty much completed the first area 100%. I think I was missing like 1 out of the 8 or 9 that were there. But in the tutorial it tells you that if you turn it to a certain part of the day, then certain things will happen. And so it has like a little portal and you have to spin the dial. It's on the tutorial, so it wants you to see what it's talking about. Turn the dial all the way, boom, 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 and then it changes to night or changes to day, I don't remember. And then the portal opens and you can go through it. And then it's a little mini area. It's pretty cool. So that's a nice mechanic that it has. It's pretty unique. It's pretty cool. So Vexx is going for about 13 to 18 bucks on eBay. So I think that's a pretty good price. It's on the lower end. It's not dirt cheap like Kingdom Hearts or anything where that's a pretty great game. It's sold amazingly. I think that if you haven't played it, you should definitely try it. I'm definitely looking forward to doing that review, but it's not like Silent Hill where it's $200+ for some of the copies. So I think that for what it is, the amount of enjoyability that I had with it, I think that it is very worth it. So I'm looking forward to completing this one and doing a full review of the entire game. I covered a lot of stuff here, so I don't even know what I'm going to say, but I think that this was a solid pickup. I recommend it. I think that my first impressions is going to be about 7 out of 10. You know, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's nothing amazing, but I think that it's pretty solid. It's a great platformer. It's got decent action, dark overtones. So yeah, that's gonna be my recommendation. You should get it. Okay, $13 for just the disc. I think it was about $13 for just the disc. $18 complete in box. Not a big investment. Pretty decent gameplay. I think you'll enjoy it. So this is my first impressions of Vexx. If you have ever played this game or you have any other recommendations that are like it, leave it in the comments. I'd really appreciate it. If there's any help that you can give, whether it's just, just clicking the little thumbs up button, I appreciate it. If this is something that you'd be interested in, game reviews or tech reviews or anything like that, I would very much appreciate you to subscribe so that you can see all my new content. Anything helps. I'm out here trying to entertain. I think that this is awesome. I love doing this, so any kind of support that you can give would be awesome. I'd so much appreciate it. Anyway, I'm Heavy Dark. Catch you on the next one.